Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. I see Tom out there. I see my mom always supporting me. Hopefully, Gopher Girl is out there somewhere. Make it a family thing. Hey, Daniel, welcome to the live stream. I was just on another live stream earlier, hanging out with Boxcar Jerry and folks, and there was another Dan that showed up there. It got really confusing. It's usually John's that we have the issues with, not Dan's or Daniel's, but starting to get there. So tonight, I've got only a small update of what I did this week. I think we'll talk a little bit more about what's upcoming and our show and tell. Then we'll talk about the progress I made, but I made some progress. And so I've finished working on the underbody, and I started working on the shell of the cab car. And I got through all of the styrene ads and got through doing some of the or doing the putty. That takes quite an effort to do the putty in the different areas and get it down, sanded down. And one of the new techniques I've never done before, everybody suggested to do wet sanding. And I'm like, what's wet sanding? Well, I come to find out after lots of searching, lots of videos, that it's really just wetting the area that you're sanding. And a lot of modelers that use this are in like car modeling and things like that, where they really need a shine. So so I went on the search for we talked about it briefly last stream. Went on the search for some finer sandpaper and actually found some, and got started on that as well. So let's go ahead and just pull up a couple of pictures. Hopefully, if I can get them up here. Let's hope this pulls up, and I'm happy that I was able to figure out how to get rid of the border around here, because my cameras aren't superb. They're good, but they're not superb. It's nice to have as much screen as possible. So happy I was able to do that for the live camera. Let's take a look though at what we have here. So just to start with, I came across on sale, or on, I don't know if it was on clear. I think it was on clearance, but Ammo by MiG put together these rail center colors, and they were selling them in sets. And so one of the sets that I found, and I it was an online retailer. I want to say it was Midwest, but I'm not sure. I can remember who it was. had this again on clearance, and it was the one that was targeted for Amtrak trains, modern Amtrak trains. So it had this aluminum color, and so I have some other aluminum colors. I have a spray paint, a spray bottle from, I want to say it's from Krylon, but or not Krylon, it's the other one. I also have like a chrome paint and some other close ones, but this one was kind of made for it, so I decided to try it out and see how it went. Well, Creek, welcome to the show. I hope you're doing well. And Zerudo, welcome. Just saw you on Jerry's stream, so it's nice to see you again. Okay, so going back to remembering where I'm at, going back to the what I was working on, you can see that you can see around the doors that I had gone ahead and sanded the putty that I put on, and I was really going for as flat a finish as I absolutely possibly could do. I then used a gray primer from Vallejo and primed the whole thing. And you can see how thin the primer is. And the primer really is only there for the to make the paint stick. So you can see where I splattered some of the putty. Those were unintentional over on the left side, but you can see around the doors. This isn't meant for cover. It's just meant to get that paint to stick. And this isn't a great picture of it. There's just too much light. But this is it's painted at this point, but you can still see. I don't know if it doesn't look like I'm zooming in enough, but you can still see where some of the unevenness around the putty is. If you remember over here, there were actually window slots that I filled in with styrene and then put the putty over, and so you can see one of the lines there. The other thing that came through, and again, a little too much light here, but the other thing that comes through is this actually, it has some of the lines left, and I'll try and show you. I'll try and show you on camera, but it certainly exposes your cuts. And as I've always said, I am not great with cutting styrene. And so the windows are a little wonky. I've done a little adjustment on them. These aren't perfectly aligned or anything like that, but certainly it's a good first attempt, in my opinion. And then I just wanted to show you, here's another drawing from the magazine, which was really nice. And you can see I've got some numbers and things that I was writing, sizes and stuff. And you can see this black on here. This is 1-to-1 sized to the model. So to place these are the ditch lights, and to place the ditch lights openings and not really having a good way to measure, I actually put a dab of black paint on the center of each of these ditch lights, and I placed the car on it so that the car would get the black paint. And it wasn't a perfect way to do it, but if you come back here, the holes did pretty much land where they were supposed to. So I was happy that I thought of that technique, because I just didn't know of a way I was going to get that. And I didn't think of it for the red lights at the top, and they were a little bit easier to get where they needed to be than down here, because this is like a blank canvas at the bottom. So I didn't try that with that. I wish I had thought of it, because then I think everything would be aligned. And I wish I had thought of it for the headlights. These are the headlights. Those are just red static lights. And then those are the ditch lights for at crossings and such. And so that is, that's where I essentially got to. Yeah, all right. So let's see if we can get some close up. And it's going to be a little fuzzy, but if I lean it a little bit here, you should be able to now see the outline of where the putty is. It's not perfectly flat. I think I can get away with it a little bit with more layers of paint. But we'll see how that goes. So on the cab car, as you know, you have the door, you have the driver's end over here, and this was painted over. And I debated whether I was going to sand this before the show. Split rack, I used the smelly stuff from Tamiya, the white putty, not the basic. I guess it's this white putty. I'm going to have to get more tubes, because you can see I'm already, I didn't think I'd run out of it on a single project. I don't remember what the reason was why I went with the Tamiya. I did some comparisons a while ago, so I've had the putty for a long time, and I don't remember what it was. I like Vallejo products, and they have a putty too. I know it was more expensive than the Tamiya, at least at Scale Model Supply it was. So I think that was part of the decision. And I don't know if I knew about the Mr. Hobby putty, but it's smelly. It dries really quick. So when I was putting it on, I started with, a toothpick and other instruments. I did the whole use your number 11 blade to put it on. One of the good things about using the number 11 blade is when you're trying to spread it flat or close to flat, it spreads really easy when you pull it. So that's nice. But what I found myself doing ultimately was using my finger. So I throw a glove on and use my finger to get on, but it dries so quickly that that it would get on the finger, and it wouldn't be a smooth surface on my finger to get it to spread it. So it was a little harder to spread. So I'm still working with it and seeing what the best option is. So if anybody has any other suggestions, or Thomas, if you have a suggestion on a putty, I'm all ears, because that's going to run out soon on just one project. So going back to the door was not flat at all with the styrene. It was out pretty far, and you could see right through the putty. You could see it when I sanded it down. It was not flat. When you painted it, it looked terrible, because also there's a line here because there's an angle in the styrene cut, which I ran into because of my cutting skills. So I did go ahead and do the wet sand again, and I think this edge came out nice and flat right here. But this was a big deal, this edge here. It feels mostly flat. It's a little bit rounded where it's at. The top is better now doing this again. So I spent a lot of time working on that. So now, I'm going to be painting. I'm going to have to do layers again. And so I'll repaint that and see how it is and see if it works. The paint's fine. It covers well. Probably can't see it in here, but need more layers because there was some putty, that got on here because I'm a messy modeler, and you can sort of see through it, at least with reflection. You can see it in the light there. I also got the on the interior of the car, and I'm gonna get this. Oh, interior of the car, or on the back end of the car, I got those lights drilled out, and this one was not easy to do, but it was there were already kind of fake lights that were already placed there, and when you look at the prototype, instead of up at the top on the front of the cab car, they're down here, so that was pretty easy to do. And the other thing, if you remember, I had trouble with was getting the underbody to sit flat. So I actually cut. Let's see if you can see. I think straight on it's okay, but I did cut away a lot of the styrene on the bottom here. You can see it's uneven, and if I cut away any more of that, I'm just going to cut the door away. The other thing you'll see in here that I did was, and this one is a little bit separated, but I did the putty in there to create, and it's very subtle. I don't think you can see it until it's up close. But I created that bend in the door. It's not as extreme as this one on the model, but there is a bend in the door that goes up part way, maybe a quarter of the way up the door, and it bends inward. And I don't know if that was a design thing, but I did that. So let me grab the underbody. So I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and paint the part of the underbody that comes through, because it does come through. Let's get this right. And now it works, but of course you can see that bend in the cut. I think what will help is painting that. But if you remember my story about when I was looking for heights of the New Brunswick station, and I stared at Google Earth for 2 years, and then finally found a sign that showed the clearance of the bridge. So that gave me all the heights that I needed. I was staring at videos and stuff, and something that's going to help with this is most of these have like a yellow caution bar, which will be a very thin piece of styrene, and then have a surface on the flat side here. So I'm actually going to be able to hide that. So I think on this side where you have the odd cut, I think I'll be able to get away with a little bit of, let's hide this. And Tom, if you're evaluating my models, don't listen to what I'm doing to hide my mistakes. Yeah, Zerudo. Yep. So I grew up using New Brunswick Station on the Northeast Quarter. And these are the cars in the 80s and 90s, because I'm, kind of old now. In the 80s and 90s, these are the cars I rode, and that's why I'm modeling these. It's been a dream of mine to do the Northeast Quarter. So my plan eventually is to do Trenton Station to New York Penn Station, with New Brunswick Station being the centerpiece, I guess you would say. of it, and so I started scratch building those, and I'll have to show those on the stream at some point where I got to, at least, because I haven't touched them in a while, and this is the one that I've really gone after. Another thing I learned is try not to handle your models so much. I've handled this, moved it around, done things, and so the littlest parts, or the most delicate parts, are these truck guards, and I've had to replace those a couple times, and then a whole part of the waste treatment system came off, and I haven't been able to get that on. I'd probably have to fabricate something new. And then this bar, I keep getting my thumb on because it's in the middle near the doors, the center doors, and keep breaking that. So I actually used a thicker styrene tube this time, and I've tried to make sure it was cemented on good, and I'm trying not to handle this as much as I handle it with you guys. And Zeruda, I gotta go back and check out your channel again. I was checking it out a while back, and I got to go back and check it out. But do you have railfan videos of the Atlantic City line? It wasn't really built when I was younger, and as Eileen, who's somewhere in the chat, will attest to, I've been going probably since I was in her womb to Atlantic City, as I have a family of gamblers who love Atlantic City, and I remember when I was younger, I used to go to the arcades at all the hotels all the casinos that my parents would go to. So I hung out in arcades like many did at my age. Oh, GP40s. Well, you'll have plenty of time to get me back when I come out to visit. So, here are the color sets for this caboose red, the aluminum, medium blue, signal yellow, engine black, and deep blue livery. So it wasn't just for the Amtrak cars. It worked for a bunch of things, I think, but that was kind of the setup. That was what was on the box. And just a hint for folks, I have all my paints. I have mostly the 2-ounce bottles of craft paint and some other setups. At Michael's, they have these photo organizers that are insanely expensive. They're like $47 or $48, but they go on sale often. Their coupons often, they get anywhere from $12 to $15. So I ended up picking up one, then I picked up another one, and inside comes these little these cases, and really convenient for supplies. And I have a bunch of extra in that I haven't used yet, so they're always there to use. But here's some weathering pencils and oils, and they're just a convenient place to keep them and keep things organized. So if you live near a Michael's and these are on sale, great organizational thing for you, and they'll fit those 2-ounce bottles very easily. And if you have to lay stuff out, they're deep enough and large enough to fit all those photos, so that you can, I have some 4-ounce tubes of paint and things like that are laid out. So anyway, there you go. A tip for you for getting storage on the cheap. Oh, so the other thing is, so you can see, I'm not just, I could have drawn on these. This is not going to work real well. I could have drawn on these or done something different or just painted in things. But you can see I drilled out the holes for lights. So again, the ditch lights are at the bottom. The brake lights are the red backlights at the top, and in the middle, the headlights. I intend to have this lighted. So the hope is that I'll have some LEDs strip in the middle for lighting, and then LEDs on the ends, and also hoping to get a decoder to do the light functions. I've been looking around to see, it's not cheap, but it's specifically designed for, and it's small, is the Locksound 5X, Locksound 5 FX, and it's about half the price of the Locksound 5, which has motor control. The Locksound 5 FX doesn't have motor control, so on sale I can get it for about $67 instead of $120, and that could work. I'm trying to understand, like, some of the cheaper decoders, like Digitrax decoders, to just get the functions. All I really want for this is the functions. If I can get sound, which is what the Locksound FX5 5FX has. They have the ALP engine sounds. I also have an engine that has sound. So I don't know if I necessarily need it in here, but that Locksound 5FX is supposed to, you're supposed to be able to consist. And so if you're consisting and you're braking and there's brake squeal, you should have brake squeal in this. That's kind of cool. I don't have the money for it right now. So it's possibly a future thing. But if I'm not going to go crazy, if I'm not going to do sound, then there are some cheaper decoders out there where I can just use, I mean, even if they're motor decoders, sound is what adds a lot of the cost. I probably can get a Digitrax decoder for $25, a small one, just to put in for the lights. And so I'll have to figure out how all that will work. Here I go handling this again, but in the instructions, I'll put this over top of the shell so you can kind of see it with the light. Not real well. But there are holes drilled in there so that there are contacts with the trucks, and so that you can have pickup. And if I can have pickup in there, then I can, then I should be able to do the decoder just fine in here. So future project, future thought. The other thing I need to think about is seating in here, and what thinking about prototype and going a little nuts. I've been searching on the YouTube to see if there is a good shot of the seats for this particular car or that particular era, because they were this ugly brown. Some of them weren't brown, some of them, and I can't remember no, some of them weren't brown and they were flatter. I remember them being brown and them having sort of seats, and they were benches. They were like 3s and 2s. And they sort of have the divider of the seats, but not really. And the thing I just loved about them was you could just flip the seats, because this is an end-to-end running um, train, and that's why they have the cab cars, is they've got the engine on one end, and when they're going back the other way, they don't turn the engine around. They just go the other way. And so on the inside, they just flip the seats. So the conductors at the end of the run go back through and just walk by these seats and just flip them over. And they just, on like metal hinges, they just flip over to the other side, and you can sit facing the other way. I remember with friends or family, we would just flip them so that we're facing each other, and they weren't really locked down or anything. So that's probably a pipe dream to be able to do that in little tiny plastic, but at least getting some seating in would be a target of mine. I did reach out to Rapido on the lighting too for their lighting set, because their cab car lighting does have the functionality on the front end of the cab car, but their lighting kits, there's no description on the boxes or on the packaging. They don't have anything on their website with a description to say if it's just the lighting for the inside above the seating, or if it has that functionality in the kits. And I mean, those aren't expensive. They're about $15. So if that was the solution, that was a solution. But I know I can wire these. I have the ability to do that, and so I think I want to do that for the challenge of it. So checking in with everybody. How is everybody doing? I just wanted to talk about a couple other things before we get to show and tell. Show and tell, we're going to kind of go back in time a little bit to my early days, as they say, of model railroading. But before we do that, if anybody in the chat is good at local marketing, so marketing an event in your area, I would ask that you reach out to me. I have an event that for the Twin Cities division that I'm in charge of, and I'm really not good with the connections locally and putting together a local marketing plan. Last year was a successful event, but it wasn't well attended at all. Most of the stuff that went on amongst the people that set up there. And what we did was a trunk sale, where basically you drive up, you open your trunk, you throw out a table or sell from your trunk and sell your model railroad equipment or memorabilia or whatever you have that's railroad or model railroad related. And we got some attendance. I did well because the local club wanted to have some sales of, they wanted to fill their little store with N scale stuff, and I'm trying to sell off all of my N scale stuff because I'm getting into the bigger stuff. And anyway, so we just set up in a church parking lot and set up a table that had information about the division, had some donations that we were selling there, and then folks just pulled up their cars and trucks and pulled out their stuff and sold. And I know that while I sold a bunch of my stuff, Gopher Girl went ahead and bought some cars of her own. She loves the graffiti, and one of the guys selling there had a ton of cars. He was selling them for $5 or $10 for these cars that had some graffiti on them. It was really neat. So anyway, if anybody has has any experience with that, I really could use your help, because I'm just not an expert at it, and I know my limitations, and so appreciate any help there. Then another one is, I'm going to be out visiting my mother in New Jersey in mid-September from the 9th to the 18th. And so if anybody has anything that model railroad related, I would appreciate any guidance of where I could go. I know there's a lot of model railroaders out there. The local divisions aren't going to have, there are two divisions in New Jersey. There's one that's basically the southern half of New Jersey and one that's the northern half of New Jersey. Both are having events that are, or meetings that are going to be late in September after I'm gone back to Minnesota. Also, I think it's the Northeast region is having their convention in Syracuse, I think it is, towards the end of September as well. So there's not a lot going on still. People aren't in the, they're not quick to get back in the mode of model railroading after their summer's out and everything. So I'm looking for some fun things to do that are model railroad related. I'm sure Gopher Girl's going to have a great 10 days getting rid of me. We'll see if everybody's alive when I come back from that trip. But anybody has any suggestions, I would appreciate it. If anybody's out in that area and wants to show their layout, I'd be interested in seeing their layout as well. Okay. That's really neat, Zerudo, that it'll be neat to see some Conrail on the tracks. So let's switch over and do some show and tell. That'll be a little bit different, differently set up, just because of where the item is. So we're going to do a little bit of a slideshow with that. So hold on just a moment while I get that set up. Talk amongst yourselves. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the, there we go. So what am I showing today? I am showing some tunnel portals. I'm not just showing some tunnel portals today, which you should be able to see from the thumbnail. The this was one of my firsts. I had, again, I started with N scale because of space. And in building, I used a hollow core door, which is 30 by 80 inches. And I wanted some features on it. I didn't want it just to be, I didn't want it to just be a flat nothing. And I didn't really, I didn't really have a grand plan. It was about just jump in. Yeah. It was all about getting me started. And so when I decided to do this, I searched and searched and searched for advice, guidance, and the like, and I found a guy by the name of Mike Pfeiffer, who owns an N scale hobby store, and he's on YouTube. And here's his channel. He actually has two. This is his main channel, and he has one where he just put up instructional videos. But you should find his video on here to create a tunnel portal on the cheap, and that would fit N scale. And so I studied it, and it turned out to not be a hard thing. Nothing special about the tunnel portals. These tunnel portals are Woodland Scenics tunnel portals. And I also was learning how to paint at the time. Really, all the painting I knew was really the leopard spotting technique from Woodland Scenics. And so I was also searching out things because I didn't want it just to be plain one color. So this, and, I didn't know anything about brushes and what size brushes to get and how to handle all that. So this is just one kind of, when I look at it now, these are pretty messy. I was most impressed with kind of a little bit of the weathering type of thing that you see on here. So we're talking like this here is a bit of weathering that I did on it. Not, I want you all to ignore all the painting I did that was terrible. I couldn't get just on one brick. There's just no way. I'm a little better now. I certainly can do better than this. And again, these are N scale. That is just that's just the start of it. All right, come on. All right, so this is what it's made of is foam core, and so that's how it was easy to get the bend in. You can see you can see all the creasing in there. That's on purpose, so that if you actually are able to see inside, it's supposed to look like rock. And that's where I learned for the first time how to do a dry brushing technique from him, so that for the parts you can see inside, if you're up close, it looks like a rock wall. It's kind of neat. But that's sort of kind of it's the other thing, what holds all this together is a glue gun, a hot glue gun. It's not something I really used before, and sorry, distractions. So it was the stringiness of hot glue. I learned pretty quickly is a problematic thing, but it glues stuff together quick. And when it's not a heavy thing like this foam board, it works perfectly well. I then what you see on the bottom here is cork. So it kind of comes up. This is Cato track. And so it kind of comes up a bit, but it's fine. It looks fine. But that was done to ensure there was enough height with the portal, because if I let the portal go down to the wood surface of the door, cars wouldn't be able to get through, especially the tall cars that I have with, I had my feature train was an Amtrak train. So those are really tall. They're also really long, but I had auto rack cars, which are even longer. And so I actually used the auto rack cars to test to make sure I had it centered and cars weren't going to hit it. Here's an up close. As I was learning to do scenery, you see some bare spots in there and everything. But that's the up close of it. The other thing that, and I can't remember if he suggested it, if Mike Pfeiffer suggested it, or I just was thinking about it. But this is the end. This is on the end of the layout against the wall. So to get in there is kind of difficult if there's a derailment or there's a problem. So going through all of the stuff I stole from my dad after he passed away, all of his tools and everything, he had this rubber washer, and I just cut it in two and super glued it, or not super glued it, hot glued it. And then I cut along the top, and I cut two sides so that you could flip down. So here's another picture of that. And then when you, not that you're going to see this much of the inside, but hey, if you're going to open it up, let's make it look a little authentic. And there's the dry brushing when you open it up with those washers. So it turned out to be a really good idea. So I'll give him credit on it. And because I don't remember if it was me or him, but works really well because I had some derailments to get in there. Also to clean up in there because spider webs and other things can get in here. Had to clean up the hot glue strings as well. And so here, my lighting back then wasn't very good, but here's that engine. And that's what was on the cover of that of the ammo box of Rail Center paint. So you can see why I got that for my project. But there's a shot of it going in. Here's another shot of the cars. They're probably coming out because they usually came from left to right, or from right to left. I'm sorry, around the layout. I didn't take a close picture of it, but on the bottom there, just for everybody's pleasure, that was a water feature. It's the first water feature I ever did, and it had nothing but bubbles in it. So I decided to call it a hot spring because it was a failure. Here's another picture. My feature industry, and this was my only spur, by the way, that I had on this layout. I really wanted to get the layout running, and I really wanted to focus on the scenery. So I made a chocolate factory out of a kit and called it a chocolate factory. And I knew nothing about switching or dropping off cars or anything like that. So being that I ran in this direction from right to left, I had no idea how I was going to get the cars in there. And so I made stuff up, and, I wasn't into operations or anything yet. So as you can see here, I actually finished the rock work on it. Split rock, it was the Merchants Row buildings that I wanted. I'm gonna work on that, even though I've been working on Craftsman kits. I was gonna work on that because there's an area on my layout that would would fit that Merchants Row pretty good. So it was one of the versions of Merchants Row, and I really should have priced it lower than I did since I was buying it. But there you go. I donated heavily to the division with the Merchants Row kit. So one of the things I got used to doing and started actually enjoy was using Sculpt-A-Mold. I was worried that plaster was too heavy for the way I did bench work because I wasn't an expert at bench work, and the hollow core door is very thin wood and may not have been well supported. And I know that it's a little bit plaster is going to be a little bit heavier and stuff. So I got used to using Sculpt-A-Mold, and I love using that and forming and having formations out of that. Ooh, let me go back here. That's all Woodland Scenics turf that I put on there. And then going back to that whole only technique I knew was leopard spotting, and I had bought the kit from Woodland Scenics, and so that's how I painted the mountain or the hill, whatever we want to call it, that it's cutting through. And I don't know why it did this whole fade thing, but let's go back here. It's not going to let me do what I wanted to do. I was actually, as I struggle mightily with this, I was actually going to play the cars coming through the tunnel portal because I don't have any cars out or anything. There's just a close up. And then here's the other side of the tunnel portal. I had this I got a whole bunch of stuff from Family Friend and just had random stuff. So I had this fertilizer dealer. So I created a dirt road out to it. And then with a lot of Woodland Scenics ground foam stuff, I created this patch where you get the fertilizer, and not shown here but real close to it, there's a pen I created with cows in it. Then you see on the other side, here's a more full picture, although it doesn't have you can't really see the other tunnel portal, but it's there. So it was just a feature to put on the end. Hopefully I'll show you the other feature I did that I was really proud of, a little mountain. But I wanted to show this, and I wanted to kind of try and show how easy it was to build this. Because I think anybody could do it with the you have the tunnel portals already made for you, and then just creating this just the portal itself on the inside is easy to cut, easy to fold, easy to work with foam core. And then as you get into scenery, just to get trains to run, you could have that tunnel portal up. You don't have to do all that scenery. And if you're doing something urban, you don't have to do scenery for it. You're going to do something else. But if I could do this as early on into model railroading as I was, then anybody can do it. And I'd be happy to work with them to do something like that if they want to try it, because it is super simple to do. So just wanted to feature some of my old layout. The layout itself is still up, but the buildings are off and everything. I haven't separated out or done anything with the tunnel portal or the little mountain I made or any of the other kind of glued on features. and I haven't gotten rid of it yet. But I wanted to document it, and I wanted to show people how easy it was to do something like this. So. And the other thing is, I would work with someone one-on-one or something. I have this incredible stage fright. So it's like even a miracle I'm doing the live stream. But I've been asked by my division to do clinics. I get such stage fright standing up in front of people. And so I was thinking of doing a clinic with Skoltomol, but recording it for the division to present someday, just so people can see how I work with it and why I like it. But I've been asked to do it live, and I don't know what it is, but I have this stage fright that just clams me up, and um, I don't know where that's from. So let's see what's going on. So going back to that Merchant's Row. So if anybody's followed the work I've done, I don't choose the colors for my models anymore. I don't know how to choose colors. I don't know how to match them, mix them, or do any of that stuff. I'm terrible at that. So Gopher Girl is the one to do that. So I put it on her. She's got to come up with 5 color schemes to get me to move on to that Merchant's Row, because as we all know, we paint those first before we get started on the building. And so when she gets me those, then I can start on that. Christopher, welcome to the live stream. One of the things that I love about the hobby is there are so many different techniques to learn. And you say going back 60 years, so you've learned from 60 years of friends and experts and all of those things, and you may have done techniques, you may have done the same thing, and I'd be interested to know that if you've done the same type of thing 60 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and have you changed those techniques, and were there ones that worked well that you haven't changed from 30 years ago? Because there are certainly techniques out there that we're all learning that are not new. They may be presented new, but I'm sure there are lots that aren't new, and so it'd be neat to find out from someone like you with that experience, what kind of techniques you've done, changed, kept the same. I moved to HO scale, Christopher, because of my eyes and my hands. It's gotten harder and harder, and I can't do the detail in N scale. And where we live now, I have a little bit more room, and I can fit some HO scale, and so that's why I went to that. And we're actually looking for another place to live and hopefully more room. Not that I want to go to a bigger scale, but when you get to S scale, O scale, G scale, you're talking, it's all about the detail. And that's something that kind of interests me. It's kind of like a sickness. You do some and you want to do more. So. And So I was just checking to see if I missed anything that I wanted to cover tonight. I went over quite a bit of stuff tonight. One of the things that I hopefully will do a show and tell is the other little mountain that I did. I that really came out well, and Gopher Girl actually helped me with that one initially with the color. I believe she did some of the painting on that one. We'll show you how I use the Sculptamold and hydrocal rock molds, and how cheap I use for. I did everything on the cheap with that, so that one the rock molds were made from tin foil, aluminum foil, instead of buying a Woodland Scenics mold. I just put the hydrocal in, I crumbled up the aluminum foil and just poured the hydrocal in and let it dry the same way, and it worked just fine. What was the other thing is I stole some rocks from a Minnesota landmark, way too big for N scale, let alone HO scale. They were really big rocks. I stole them from a parking lot, but I incorporated them into the mountainside, so it came out really, really neat. And so I'll have to show that on a future live stream. So, Christopher, I have a bunch of older magazines. They're not super old, so they were like when the internet was really starting to have businesses and things. So, very early 2000s. And I have a couple of the magazines that I'm using for this build that are from the 90s. And so it's pretty amazing to see the stuff in there. And I'm still inspired when I read those magazines. I know everybody has problems with like Model Railroader magazine and that sort of thing. But just going back over that stuff intrigues me. I want to try these little projects, down to a guy made his own exhaust vents for the side of the building. And they were round, and it was really neat. And it reminded me of things I saw growing up, and so I have that on my, I have that separated out, and I want to try that someday. I came across an article, and I was trying to find it to talk about on here, but it was a Rock Island yard office. And I'll probably try it. I was trying to have it because I'm going to show on one of my next live streams for show and tell. I'm going to show you my first scratch build, which was a yard office. But this is a Rock Island yard office, and they took a boxcar and they chopped it up a little bit, put this sloped roof on the top, and it was this little yard office for one of their yards. Completely inspiring. I really want to try to do it. It doesn't fit the era or anything that I'm modeling, but it's a project I would love to do, and it's just inspiring. So, with all those things that are going on in your life, Christopher, do you still like to build, or do you still build stuff, or are you at the point where you buy ready to run stuff for your layout, whether it's ready to run buildings or that sort of thing? Because the one thing we can't beat out here is age. Time just keeps going on, and like you say, you adapt to it. We all have to adapt to it. And for me right now, that's moving to a bigger scale. I have a trimmer. So I've seen other modelers with tremors, and it's amazing that you can um, that when you're focused on stuff, sometimes you can hold stuff pretty steady and do the work. But there are other times that it's not good. Like when I'm painting, when I'm painting detail, like if I wanted to paint um, detail on the portals again in scale, still much harder, even though I understand how to use brushes now and what type of brushes to get so that I'm only getting small parts of that detail. It's still hard because I still have trouble keeping my hand steady, and I do all kinds of techniques to try to do that. I bet it's still good today. There are things that they're just not going to change, and they just work. And I'm open to anybody's techniques. Some people say, you don't want to. I hear this a lot from some older modelers that you don't want to take the advice of people on YouTube. And I think their statement's not about YouTube. I think it's about new techniques versus old techniques when they're talking about it. I do know of one who spent a lifetime as a paramedic, and his point is you can see people do some really stupid stuff that doesn't make sense. And I think my thought to that is you want to have some common sense, or if you're unsure about something, don't just try a technique. Make sure my check on techniques is, are multiple people um, doing a technique? Are they slightly doing it differently? Are they warning against something in that technique? You really find more legitimate techniques the more people are using it. And so you're not going crazy. You're not trying to cut a hole in a pressurized metal can of some sort, and doing something crazy like that. Uh, you're not lighting a flamethrower in your house and things like that. So there's certainly some common sense you need, but one of those checks is, are other people doing this technique, or is this one wild technique I've seen? And then I've really got to check it and say, do I really want to do something like that? Um, and Christopher, do you actually post anything on YouTube of your work? Because if you do, I would love to see what you do. Or is there another outlet where you share any of your work? Um, would absolutely love to see that. Also, what part of the country are you in? Are you in the U.S.? Hey, Zeruto, you're back, and thanks for the compliment. As you know, as I've I I really like doing this, and so I like now to share it with other people. Um, I don't do this as a business or anything. I don't make any money doing it, but if I can make other people happy finding the hobby, then I've done a good job, I think. So going back also, hey, you know, Daniel, that's okay. I lurk a lot on a lot of streams. There are a lot of streams out there. I don't have time. I wouldn't be able to build models or get work done around the house if I didn't listen to streams and while doing other things. So, Christopher, that's something I'm trying to get better at is details. Um, that's the one thing I would finish doing a model, building one, and then I wouldn't put any detail in it, and it would just be blah and plain. So I've been forcing myself to do more detail. So I appreciate that. Get all mad scientists, do you? Um, when you say advice with authority, do you mean they just have a following, or they just command authority when they're giving that advice? Um, I mean, I know that there are critics a lot out there, and so that's part of why I haven't done a whole lot of videos that are how-to videos. I mean, maybe I should do a how I do it video and have a disclaimer saying I'm not an expert. Military modelers are really good war gamers. Their painting skills, there are a couple of figure painters that paint like the war game figures that I watch regularly for technique. Um, I wanted to try that technique where they build shadow going straight down with their paint. I'm doing like a black paint, and then I haven't had occasion to do it, but it's techniques like that I want to try for sure. So, so everybody, go check out Christopher's Facebook. I'll certainly be doing that after the stream because, like I said, I want to sop up everything I can. Um, so it's Mayberry Railroad, um, and well, I'll definitely take a look myself. Hey, Randy, welcome to the stream. Have you been on the stream before and just been lurking in the background? Because I don't remember seeing you, but I appreciate that you're here. Um, we're we went over. You'll be interested for sure to look back at my early model railroading work and maybe have a little laugh at it when you take a look at my show and tell, which was this tunnel portal that I did. Zenithal highlights, Daniel. That's right. That's what I want to try. Yeah, just Chris, you're just a Tennessee hillbilly. Do you associate with the with the National Model Railroad Association in your area? Wabash Model Works, Daniel. I'll take a look at that. I swear I've seen your stuff before as well somewhere, but I can't remember. So I'll definitely take a look at that, and everybody else should as well. You know, I really wish I had, you know, the N scale layout wouldn't be fun to watch because it's just a loop. Um, but I wish I had a layout that was running in the background instead of the static pictures, but better looking at those than my face. And Daniel, what division is that? Randy, you're there are a few of you out there that managed to do model railroading out in the wilderness. That's pretty good. Um, if I knew you, you probably have. Do you have a camper? Or are you set up in a camper where you're doing some of your work, getting away from family, or? Oh, cool! I'll have to check out the Central Indiana Division. Yeah, we used to do some camping. Never did any model railroad camping though. Uh, just so you know, Daniel, did not. I didn't have geography in school growing up. Whatever electives I had or whatever, I got out of doing geography. So I can't even picture going from Indiana to Tennessee. I assume it's a diagonal line to the right going south, but yeah, campfire smoke is the bomb. I love that smell. If I could bottle the smell of campfire for our house, I would love that. For Fourth of July, we didn't do much. We actually did indoor s'mores with our gas stove. Um, they still tasted fine. A little a little metallic tasting, but other than that, tasted good. Oh, so great! You know, I've seen that a few times with folks using the DVD player. Come a long way. My mother, who I don't know if she's still on the stream, um, she deals in fine dollhouse miniatures. So you know the stuff she sells are anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 handmade stuff. Um, and she just bought this it looks kind of mid-century modern TV where you can download now stuff to play on it, and it's tiny and it'll fit in one of her room boxes. So we've come a long way on that. So that's really cool. I'm looking for when I go to New Jersey. I'm looking forward to checking that out and how that all works. Uh, I, did you bring your did you bring your you didn't bring your actual printer, you're just working on designing it, the 50-foot high cube. So for me, split rock, I don't know if it's because I just started using it, but I wanted acrylics. I didn't want to try any of the enamels or anything, so I tend to use Vallejo Model Air paints. when I can, and then craft paints for other stuff. Um, when I did, when I was doing, I bought a couple of practice shells from the back room of Scale Model Supply, and I started, at least on one, I got painted, and I was practicing on that one, and I, I I like you. I'm not great at the airbrush, but I like using the airbrush to paint, and because of kind of paint strokes, brush strokes, and trying to hide those. So I've liked Vallejo Model Air, so I've generally stuck with that, uh, and Vallejo primers. Uh, I'm sure everybody has their favorite. And Christopher, not belonging to clubs or anything, do you um, do you have friends that operate on your layout, or do you operate on theirs? Here in the Twin Cities, a lot of the modelers are more advanced, and so they've gone from just the modeling piece into operations, and so that's kind of a thing around here. So you're saying, Christopher, you're just a tinkerer. You love to tinker with things. I do too. I just haven't accumulated enough things to tinker. So, oh, and split rock. So I don't the paint that I use too. They recommended watering it down. So I watered it down pretty heavy too. So it was probably pretty thin, and that's why it was so easy to see even the flattest of the um, putty. Um, but I probably did, and I'll use distilled water and or alcohol, um, and so I maybe did 50% or 60% water for this round. So um, you know, I would rather do layers with it and layer it up than spray it on and it not look good or make mistakes on it. So I'll do some more layers, not just covering up where I sanded down, but I'll do more layers all around and it should come out fine. So we should have a party, Christopher. I'm all for food. So we should have a party for your 61st anniversary in the hobby. So we are coming on to 10:30 on the East Coast. Here it's here in Central. It's 9:30. We've been going for about an hour and a half, and I've really enjoyed it. There may be some other live streams or some other modeling that folks want to do. So I think what I'll do at this time is I'll shut her down at this time, but um, I really enjoyed having you here. I hope that I inspired some of you to just jump in and do some things. And, um, I'm happy to help with the techniques that I do. And I'll put that disclaimer on. Try my techniques. None of them are really originally mine, um, but um, but I don't do anything really crazy, I don't think, when it comes to model railroading. So I think that if you ever want to see some techniques or something, that was an idea I always wanted to do. Is if I actually made money at the YouTube thing, I would have had something where I did, where I had subscribers tell me um, what they wanted to see me do, and then I'd go out and get the materials and do it. It's not a moneymaker thing for me, and I don't have a lot of money, so I haven't been able to do that. But maybe one day I'll be able to do that, and then I'll be able to really share with people um, the things that I know I'm able to do. Well, thank you, Christopher, for your service. Appreciate that, and hope you enjoyed your time there. I know it wasn't too dangerous, but certainly appreciate that. And it was really nice getting to know you. And hopefully, you'll be back, and I'll definitely be checking out your Facebook. And for anybody who wasn't here, and earlier, Christopher was telling us that he's 60 years in the hobby, and he's been using techniques from way back when to now, and he continues to work on it, and so he has a Facebook page where he shares some of his work, and I'll be checking it out, so I hope you check it out as well. And look, the YouTube money you make, even some of the ones that have millions of followers, don't make a lot of money on YouTube. It's the stuff around it. It's their partnership programs that they have. It's their any endorsement deals that they have, anything that they endorse on their channels and things like that. That's where they're going to make their money. But I don't expect to be any type of superstar or anything. And I don't, even if, we're talking pennies on the dollar that you make from ad revenue and stuff. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And once again, say, just jump in, just try whatever it is that you want to try, because you may enjoy it, and you may achieve things. And I'm an achievement oriented guy, and so I get, my feedback is, if I'm achieving something or I'm doing something better, then I'm going to enjoy it more. So, but you have to just jump in, you have to try something. And so I hope that you all do, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week.